I contend that, we like to give lip service to quality content. I know that it's necessary, but it's almost the baseline. The real ranking is in the link building. It's why Hoth and SEO.co and PosiRank exist. You just go buy valuable links.
Yeah.
So link building to SEO is schema markup to AEO. I'll explain. We started analyzing all of these websites, and it was my data team that identified, they're like, dude, every website that is being shown has schema validated schema.
AI isn't just changing dentistry, it's completely redefining it. Tune into Bite-Sized Podcast, the Dental AI and Tech Podcast, and stay ahead of the curve.
Kasim has spent 2 decades building and scaling a Google Ads agency before he pivoted to answering a question that most marketers are not even asking themselves today, which is, what makes an AI engine recommend or cite your business or your dental practice? And this project that he's run revealed some hard data that contradicts what most people in the SEO industry are saying about AI SEO. And what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about what he's found, and this will inform dental practices, dentists, and dental marketing gurus what they should focus on in 2026. He's also launching March 1st his own AEO company with a partner. We'll talk about that later. But AEO stands for Answer Engine Optimization, which is basically AI SEO or GEO. You might have heard it. But anyway, welcome, Kasim, to the podcast. It's nice to have you on.
Adrian, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Okay, you got it, brother. Well, before we jump into all your hard data and your research that you did, I want to just give us 2 minutes. You're not in the dental industry, and so I'd like for you to introduce yourself to the dentists and the dental industry that'll be watching this. Tell us a little bit about who you are really quick, and then why you did this 18-month study.
Yeah. My name's Kasim. I'm an agency wannabe in so many ways. I've built 6, 7, and 8-figure agencies. I built the #1 ranked Google Ads agency in the world. I sold that in October of 2022 to a SoftBank-backed MarTech company.
Nice.
I have 4 cousins who are dentists.
Oh, well, you're kind of in the industry then.
I reached then. Yeah, I've worked in dentistry to a pretty significant degree because it was one of our primary niches for a while.
Okay.
One of my clients was Dr. Ginger Price, who developed coconut toothpaste. She's in, all the
nice.
Trader Joe's and stuff. She's awesome. So I know just enough to be dangerous. I had a whole marketing mechanism. We used to use the periodontal chart as something of a story, and I invented this this lead magnet using the periodontal chart. So I can chat about all my failings and successes in the dental realm.
Oh, let's just talk about your successes, man. Actually, no, let's talk about your failures. Those are funner to talk about.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So why did you decide to do this research project that we're going to be talking about?
To be honest with you, dude, I sold my business. The worst thing you can do to poor people is give us money because we pretend we're investors. And so, I just don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I'd like to pursue something that feels meaningful. And I'm on the phone with 2 of my business partners. I own a staffing agency called Pareto Talent. I'm on the phone with my partners at Pareto. And one of them mentions AEO. And I'm like, what is AEO? And he's like, oh, well, SEO for search engine, AEO for answer engine. And It was just this. His name's Nuno Tavares, by the way. Nuno's one of the smartest technical minds on the planet. He does all of the high-level training for all of the biggest names. Really, really brilliant guy. So he was years ahead. This was 2 years ago, if not more. But a light bulb went off, dude. It was like an explosion in my brain because I spent so much time gaming Google. That's all I spent $100 million of other people's money in Google search.
Yeah. Just
and I saw
trying to game the system. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's all it is. Anybody who says like, oh, we only do white hat optimization, they're full of shit. There's no such thing. It's a violation of Google's terms of service to attempt to manipulate rankings in any way. There's no such thing as white hat optimization. Now, there's right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I've taken, and I realize that I'm lobbing grenades at an entire industry, and there's no other way to articulate it. So God bless them. I realize that that's necessary for a sales conversation. And we're all hackers, So because I spent all my time in Google paid, I know the value of traffic more than anybody. It's interesting. Organic guys don't realize how valuable they are. People who are good at SEO, they have no conception of how much money it would cost.
How much value they're creating.
Oh, dude, it's insane. So I hear Nuno say AEO, and I realize instantly, I'm like, oh, this is it. This is not just the next marketing mechanism. This on a long enough timeline becomes the only marketing mechanism, because AI is
Yeah.
going to be the conduit through which we access everything.
All the content.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
dude, we're headed towards a screenless future. People can't, myself included, we can't even conceptualize what's on the other end of this. But what we do know, the one thing you can be sure of, is that there's a bottleneck, and that bottleneck is AI.
Yeah.
And so now I have a team. I have a 5-person data team that's done nothing but study how LLM source their citations for their, it's been more than 18 months now. We're closing in on 2 years. The study has been, as far as the way that it's structured, has been a year in earnest. It was us messing around and trying to figure out how we
figure out.
do this.
Yeah.
So I've got in excess of 12 months of data, tens of millions of data points. And we've studied all the major LLMs. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I actually didn't want to launch an agency, to be honest with you. The agency model's stupid. I make all my money $1 at a time. It's just like, I wish I could be a SaaS guy. I wish I could be that smart, SaaS, e-com, something scalable, but I can't, I'm not intelligent enough. So I get to the end of this rainbow, I find the pot of gold, and I'm like, well, I know how to do it the hard way. So partnered with smart marketer Molly Pittman and Ezra Firestone, and we're rolling out our first test cohort. Starts the beginning of March 2nd.
Cool.
And we're taking on 10 guinea pig clients. We've already walked through that selection process. We're going to do 3 test cohorts, so it'll be 30 clients in total. And my hope and expectation is I walk away with 30 case studies. Obviously, there will be some that are better than others, but at the risk of sounding arrogant, nobody has my data. Like, nobody knows what I know. I have more data on this topic than any other human alive, at least if you consider those outside of the iron domes that are the AI tools themselves.
Sure.
So I think I have the strongest assumptions to make, and I'm excited to prove that.
Okay. So this like, give us the kind of the background of how you structured the analysis, this whole analysis process. What was the answer you were looking for? What were you trying to get out of it?
And we'll talk ChatGPT, just because that's the one that I think everybody's probably most familiar with. Interestingly, I don't think it's the best or the one that you should be leaning towards from an optimization perspective.
Sure.
But we'll talk
Gemini is definitely
by far
there.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah.
ChatGPT uses citations to create all of the answers that it feeds you. So if you ask it, what tennis shoes should I, I'm about to go country western line dancing, and I was asking it, what cowboy boots.
That's weird.
I know. I'm 40, dude. I'm midlife crisising hard. So I'm asking ChatGPT, like, what cowboy boots are the best for line dancing, but are still going to last? And like, how do you know what makes a good boot?
You know what I mean? Too much time. You have way too much time on your hand.
Oh, dude, everything that I buy, I won't. It's so funny. Like, if you took my hourly billable and then you benchmarked it against some of the purchases that I've made, I've spent 3 hours researching a $20 purchase. Like, it's
a waste of time.
Yeah, it's an absolute waste. But there's something about it for me. It's academic, because I like engaging with these engines and understanding how they source their answers. So I asked ChatGPT about this cowboy boot. And when you ask it a question like that, it provides you with not all. That's the hard part here, but it provides you with the citations that it utilized to generate the answers. It doesn't provide you with the citations it didn't utilize, right? You can't prove a negative.
Explain citations. When you say citation, we know that it's like a link, but what does it mean?
ChatGPT crawls the web for you. So Kasim says, hey man, I want a cowboy boot. And so it'll crawl the web and start asking questions like, what makes a good cowboy boot? What's genuine leather? What's the double pleated sole? What's the, how hard is country western line dancing? Whatever. All of those websites. And it's not, and here's the thing is I've already even kind of put us at a disadvantage, because it's not websites. ChatGPT looks at Facebook comments, Quora threads, like anything that's indexable. Anything that's indexable, it looks at. As far as, if there's a hierarchy there, right? It doesn't comb through all information. It combs through information according to whatever hierarchy it's established.
Right.
And then it generates its answer. Well, when it generates its answer, all of the materials, the raw materials that went into generating that answer, the Facebook comment, the Quora post, the blog article.
That's the citation.
That's the citation. So it gives you this library of citations. And so my study was nothing but, how does ChatGPT determine what citations to use? And so what we did, I have 5 people who've done this full time every single day for the last 18 months. Every single Every single one of the participants, their data managers basically, has to do 20 queries. So that's
Okay.
20 queries a day across 3 different AI engines. So that's 60 queries in total. And every single query we copy and paste, and this is all done automatically.
On how many brands are you looking at?
Oh,
Just
we look
one?
across, there's 10 distinct categories that we divided the search or the research into. And they're what you would expect. It'd be like local brick and mortar professional services, info products,
Okay,
etc.
so you just hit the whole market, basically.
Yeah, well, I wanted to know, I mean, it's interesting because it's called info sponging. I learned this from Jeff Hoffman, who founded Priceline. You learn more from other industries than you do your own because there's too much confirmation bias built into your own. So if a dentist is trying to figure out why ChatGPT is recommending certain dentists, the issue that dentist is going to run into is the context within their digital environment is going to influence those answers. So
Right.
for the dentists that are listening, the answers you get are irrelevant. If you say, who's the best dentist in my zip code? Well, ChatGPT knows you're a dentist. So it's going to say
Right.
you are. And the same thing is true on the periphery, your friends, your family, your patients.
Right.
There's, it's very difficult to sterilize that type
Well,
of
it
discussion.
also, I mean, how much of the LLMs is using past historical search data and the personalization of the individual who's searching as a reference in the are they using any of that?
Oh, dude, that's
Like
the
like
part
for
that's
example,
amazing.
so for example, I'm assuming you're saying yes, but for example, let's say that I always go to look at the website of a particular restaurant that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't even know if the LLMs have access to like Google
They
Maps
would if
data
you're
and
using the browser
tracking.
extension or the desktop application. Yeah,
Okay.
they're
So
getting
I
their
go to this,
tendrils out there.
okay. So I'm going to this restaurant all the time and I come back into ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, and I say, I want to find a new restaurant locally close to me that's really great. What do you recommend? It's likely or more likely that the restaurant that I visit and I go to their website to show up or not.
Potentially, it actually goes so much deeper than that. Imagine
Okay.
for a moment that you're a Steelers fan. I don't know if
Okay.
you are. You have a mild gluten intolerance. Recently, the last couple of days, you've been experiencing some digestive unrest. And
Okay.
all of those things, for various reasons, you talk to ChatGPT about. All of it gets rolled
Ah,
up into the decision. So I have heavy metal toxicity. I have mercury and lead, mercury in my brain, lead in my bones. If I look for a dentist, bet money that the heavy metal toxicity comes into
and gives you a mercury-free dentist.
and fluoride-free dentist because my
Oh,
detox
yeah.
pathways are downregulated.
Got
And
it.
if you have mercury toxicity, fluoride, but here's the thing, that's 2 steps removed, and I would never know. I wouldn't
You wouldn't even
necessarily
have that in
know.
the it wouldn't be even be in your prompt. It's just
But
okay,
I
gotcha.
wouldn't have to prompt for it, and ChatGPT might not even tell me. So if you think
Mm,
about it, if you have 2 people sitting next to each other, you know what I mean? One of them is gay, one of them is straight, one of them's Republican, one of them's a Democrat, one of them's male, one of them's female, one of them's young, one of them's old. It does, and they search for the exact same thing, Italian restaurant near me. They're gonna get something wildly different.
right.
Google, we're used to Google search where 90% of the results are the same and context is adjusted for 10%. With AI engines, context is quite literally everything.
Almost everything.
What that means is there's no such thing as ranking, right? There's no number. Like I live in 85258. That's my zip code in Scottsdale, Arizona. And there's about 36 dentists near me. And I know that because I've worked with dentistry. I have a whole example about why dentists shouldn't offer free care and cleaning on their first month. Because I can go to the dentist for 18 years without ever getting in my car for free. I think it's a horrible lead magnet on the front end, depending on where
Yeah.
you are geographically. Uh, in 85258, if you're a dentist in this zip code and you're attempting to attract new patients, you aren't going to rank the way that you rank in Google search.
Right.
What you can do though is you can begin to index towards a specific avatar. So using my friend and former client, Dr. Ginger Price, as an example, before she invented coconut toothpaste, she did all on 4 dental implants,
Okay.
which are
Big deal.
phenomenal moneymakers.
Big
I mean,
deal in
if
dentistry.
we can just say that out loud, right? And it took us about $2,500 to produce a closed lead, let's say a final patient, and I
Okay.
think she was charging like 45 grand. So pay 2,500, make 45 grand. I know there are hard costs involved, but not bad arithmetic. What you would want to do as a dentist is start to index towards a particular avatar for a particular reason. So instead of trying to rank for a dentist near me, you want to start putting yourself in a position so that you can uh, connect to people's context. So if I'm having trouble chewing, if I've got little kids, if you're an orthodontist or you have an orthodontist in your office, like decide what context you want to index towards and then begin building your authority there. Here's the worst part, Adrian, and I think it's the worst part for dentists because I don't think they like to do this, but you might argue with me. All LLMs prefer people over brands 1,000 to 1. So they want Dr. Adrian, not Perfect Teeth.
Right.
Because Dr. Adrian can get a doctorate, write a book, be an expert. Perfect Teeth is just a franchise that anybody can buy into.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even think you have to be a dentist on a Perfect Teeth.
Yeah.
They want Jeff Bezos, not Amazon. So if you want to begin really capturing LLM-driven citations, you have to drive personal authority.
So let me ask you
that want to play the lifestyle game or zoom out or, sell their practice. It becomes difficult.
Well, I'll tell you that a lot of doctors, I mean, there are some out there that feel comfortable, being the crosshairs of the marketing campaign. We want to say that they will be the center of the attention. They're fine with that. But I would say a majority of doctors are very uncomfortable feeling like they're self-promoting.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a tough thing to try and get over with a lot of doctors, especially if you're trying to do content creation where it's video creation or imagery or anything like that. Doctors tend to want to be a little more passive in the appearance of their practice. They would like to talk about their practice rather than themselves directly. Okay, so I think that there's a hurdle there for the industry. Okay?
Sure.
But I have a question though about. I mean, I really like this idea of shifting from a brand to a personal individual, and then optimizing or leaning towards the indexing of the type of client you're looking for. My question is, give me one or two examples of what that looks like. It's easy to say it, but what's the activity that a doctor would do to try and do that? Like, give me just something comes to your head.
We're doing it right now. I think every person who wants to be an authority needs to have a podcast. So doctor spins up a podcast. It's 1 hour a week. In a 1 hour a week podcast, you produce more content than you'll ever be able to use that week, probably that month in terms of repurposing. So an hour-long podcast, first of all, you have your podcast, you have your audio, that can get cut up into 5-10 minute YouTube videos if you manage your transitions properly. So you've carpet bombed YouTube. Each YouTube video can get cut up into 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 different reels for TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Shorts. And then the reels can get turned into threads and carousels and infographics. Like, repurposing is the easiest thing to do in the whole wide world, especially with AI. And what I would do if I was you, to quote Perry Belcher, who's the greatest marketing mind in the world, by the way, if people don't know why I'm quoting Perry Belcher. He likes to say, if I was you, I would take the line of inquiry that produces the highest value patient from a lifetime value perspective. So let's say that that's pediatric. If you're like, dude, if I can get them when they're 2, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to have them for the rest of their life.
Right.
Then the conversations, there's a site called Answer the Public owned by Neil Patel, my mortal enemy, who I also love and respect. The conversation, I love Neil a lot, but he pisses me off because he's always ahead of me. He's just smarter than I am in every way. He's a good dude too. Shout out to Neil. I'm not talking shit. Go to Answer the Public and have conversations along those lines of inquiry. Because if I'm, especially now, dude, we live in the age of an educated consumer base. So if a parent is looking for a pediatric dentist, what are the questions they're asking? And then add layers. The more layers, the better. How about pediatric dentistry for children with autism? Or children that are neurodivergent. And you have that conversation on the podcast. The podcast gets repurposed into multimodal content. So now you have audio, video, written, visual.
Right.
And then that content gets put everywhere else. You and I had a little, sparring match ahead of this because you're like, dude, you don't have a blog? And I'm like, no, I use everybody else's. Because LLMs, LLMs are operating off of confirmation. They don't want to, they don't want to go to your website.
UGC.
Dude, of course your website says you're awesome. They want to know that your Google reviews look good, your Yelp reviews look good, somebody said something nice to you about BBB, and so on and so forth. So you need to cross-pollinate content across all these different networks.
Right.
And here's the best part. It sounds hard. It is a little. One good EA can do all of this for you, incidentally. not to shamelessly self-promote, but I know that's true because I've seen it. One good EA executes on everything I just said and has time left over in their day. Here's the best part. Nobody else is going to do this. You could get 100,000 people listen to this podcast, 100,000 motivated dentists, and most of them, in my experience, will not take action.
No,
So
they
if
won't.
one
I
dentist
can't get dentists to
action.
send me a photo, let
Dude,
alone
you know what I mean?
set up a podcast.
The one dentist that decides, you know what, I'm going to be the expert in my area. Here's the other best part. There's a lot of best parts. I'm a child. I speak in hyperbole. Once you've established yourself as an authority for pediatrics, all on four, implants, Invisalign, whatever, insert gingivitis, insert whatever line of practice here, your ability to assume authority in a subsequent line of service increases on a near exponential scale. Because the AI engine's like, oh, well, you're already smart at that. And it's the reason,
it becomes,
which it functions just like a human being would. So it's just like, it's the analogy of it takes 80% of the fuel for a spaceship to leave the Earth's atmosphere. And then, going to the moon, which is 99% of the distance is the remaining whatever fraction of a percent of the fuel. Just getting started with content creation and authority building, that's the hard part. Once you're started and the wheel is running,
it runs. It's like
runs.
Me setting up this podcast. It was a little tough in the beginning and I felt super awkward because I didn't want to be on camera. And although many people would think I'm just a freaking, extrovert that's looking for all. Well, it's because I got a great camera.
It's not soaking you up. Yeah.
But as soon as it gets going and you get your workflows put together, it's just a content machine. So it's easy after you've done it.
Well, and you've seen this in your, again, talking to our dentist listeners, every local client I've ever had, but especially anybody in the medical field, they're always pissed because there's that one person. And there's Dr. Brady, and they come in and they're like, how does he do this? Every time I search, everywhere I go, all I do is I see Dr. Brady.
Find Dr. Brady.
Yeah, they're just so upset. They're like, I went to a better school. I have more letters behind my name. I do better continuing education. And I'm like, doesn't matter. Dr. Brady is on TikTok, dude. Like, go on TikTok like Dr. Brady. And he gets up there and he spreckens his bushy babble. And the thing that's good about AI engines...
Wait, what did you just say? Spreckens his bushy babble?
Yeah, I don't know.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, sprecken is German for talk, and bushy babble is just garbage. So talk shit. You get up there and you sprecken your bushy babble. Yeah.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, dude. The thing that LLMs have that Google search never had was the ability to actually determine, like they can think.
Well, they can derive meaning and context.
They know if you're full of it. So an LLM can truly identify authority. Now, this is really dangerous. This is really dangerous because the LLM is basing authority off of a majority rules, intelligent knowledge graph. So, and I don't know.
It's not looking at clinical precision and capabilities.
Well,
unless that information is mentioned somehow online, right?
No, it is hierarchically structured. This is where, so PubMed, let's say, anything.gov, anything.edu, anything backed by a PhD, and LLMs are like, oh, this. But I'll just, if you don't mind the analogy, when Einstein published his theory of relativity, 100 PhDs came out with a book. They published a book explaining why he was wrong. And his famous quip was, if I was wrong, it would have only taken one of them. But at the time, it was 100 PhDs to Einstein all saying this was wrong. So in the dental world, and I'll use an example from my life, I have mercury toxicity. I believe that mercury amalgam fillings are poison. But most dentists don't. We do 50 million mercury fillings a year. And so the LLMs are going to index towards what most dentists say, which is mercury fillings are perfectly safe in the right context or confines because sprechen the bushy babble. Now, if you're a dentist that believes that mercury toxicity is, or mercury fillings aren't whatever viable or applicable, and I realize that I'm not a PhD, I have a 10th grade education, so all the dentists can be upset at me. Going against the grain can be really difficult. But if you can do it with some degree of consistency and authority, what you're doing here is you're engineering yourself for context. Because now your patient who doesn't want mercury amalgam fillings and wants more organic dentistry that's the LLM is going to index towards you.
It's going to find them. Yep.
But the generalist patient that doesn't know any better, the LLM is going to stick with the status quo. So you have to decide who you are and who you want to be.
Gotcha. All right. Love it. Let's jump back to actually what you found in your research. Okay.
Yeah, it gets
What
super
did you
nerdy.
find? So well, matter of fact, let me ask you this first.
Yeah.
What did you think you were going to find?
To be honest with you, my assumption was AEO was gonna be just faster SEO.
Okay.
And there is some truth to that. You know, Perplexity's overlap with Google's search graph is like 75 to 80%, which just means
So it's pretty
Perplexity,
close.
it's just Googling faster than you are and better and then
Gotcha.
summarizing the Google search. Here's the craziest thing, quick aside. ChatGPT's overlap with Google's 50 to 60%, depending on the category. Perplexity's is 70 to 80. Guess what Gemini's is, which if you're listening, Gemini is a Google product. So Adrian, guess
Gemini is Google's LLM.
Gemini is Google's LLM. Guess what Gemini's overlap with Google is?
I am
Google
going to say, I am going to say it's less, not more.
It's less, not more. So a Luddite would guess 100%.
Because
Right?
it's the same company. And
Because
they're
it's
probably
like,
using-
why wouldn't Google use Google Search Graph? Google uses Google Search in their AI less than all the other AI engines. ChatGPT
Wow.
is 50 some odd percent, Perplexity 70 some odd percent. Gemini is 25% at most, and sometimes zero.
So
Here's
what does
why.
that mean in layman's terms? Explain
Well,
that in layman's terms. What does that mean?
I'm guessing at what it means because Google's not going to tell me. But here's my guess. The Google search graph is flawed. We've known that for a million years because guys like you and I exist. There's guys like you and I that are going out there optimizing clients. And any client you optimize, God forgive me for saying it, it's not that they're the best dentist. They
No,
just
it's 'cause
hired the
you
best
optimize
guy,
that. Yeah.
right? So Google knows that. Google knows our search graph is flawed. Our search graph has been basically
There's too many people gaming the system, basically.
too many people game the system. They jerry rigged it.
Right.
All of the information there has been manipulated. The algorithm is flawed. So Google with Gemini is rebuilding the knowledge graph from the ground up. And I contend they're the only company on the planet that has the information to do that. So they're rebuilding the knowledge graph from the ground up. That's why Gemini sucked so bad in the beginning. You know, if you used ChatGPT and Grok and Claude and
Yeah,
Perplexity,
Gemini was
like
flimsy.
Yes, it was like watching a toddler try to play in the NBA. It was horrible. And I think it's because they were building the knowledge graph from the ground up while everybody else was building on top of Google's very
Google's
mature
search.
search results,
Yeah.
which are good, but they're not right. They're not great,
Yeah.
right?
And they've been
And what Google can do anytime they want is rip the rug out from everybody. Because think about this, dude, the minute Google decides, you know what, we're not going
we're
to
turning
allow
off our search graph.
to the bots. When we turn off our search graph to bots, where does ChatGPT go? Bing? You know what I mean? Where do
Yeah,
Perplexity
who
and Cloud,
knows?
where do they go? Google owns, now there's a big antitrust suit on the back end of that, obviously.
Sure.
But it speaks to their power and their prowess.
Mhm.
Google owns the knowledge graph from the ground up. To go back to that's one of the things that I found that I didn't expect to find. I thought I was going to see something like
You thought it
SEO
would be
on
very
steroids.
similar. You thought it would be very similar to regular SEO.
And there's a Venn diagram, there's an overlap, but the only reason the overlap exists is because the AI tools are using search engines. In terms of how the AI tools structure content for themselves, it's actually diametrically opposed. Search, SEO is entity-based. It's URL-based. All SEO lives on the URL. That's why URLs trade for tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
AEO is about you. And you know what's so funny is Google knew this was coming years ago. I don't know. You remember Google Plus?
Yeah. It came and went.
And went. It was brilliant. Here's the thing about Google Plus. It was massively, massively, massively ahead of its time. Here's what Google tried to do with Google Plus, if people don't remember. And this is a good lesson because it teaches us exactly what they're trying to do inside of AI.
Okay.
With Google Plus, Google wanted everybody to have a Google Plus profile, just like you have a Facebook profile. But they were going to use it for content. And they said, Adrian, do me a favor. Here's your Google Plus profile
Start posting.
tag.
Send me content.
Anything you create, a blog you write on somebody else's site, something that you tag socially, a video that you create, it doesn't matter where it is, just put your Google Plus profile. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure
Build a
out,
graph.
we want to divorce ourselves from URLs and attach ourselves to content creators.
Right.
Because the URL, dude, I mean, like Search Engine Journal for you and I is great if you want to learn about search engine optimization. But why? Because they just attract the best SEOs. The SEOs in Search Engine Journal come and go. And what Google realizes is that Search Engine Journal is going to be usurped by SEMrush sometimes. It's going to be usurped by whatever, Search Engine Land. And they wanted to stop chasing URLs and start chasing the real content creators, the real authorities.
Right.
At the time, they didn't have the compute to really understand, oh, this Adrian Leffler is different than this Adrian Leffler, right? Like there's a pro NBA player, there's a senator, there's a serial killer, and then there's the digital marketer. And you want to make sure you don't confuse those four, right?
Put us below the serial killer?
Yeah,
hierarchically?
Marketers are,
okay.
yeah.
Where would attorneys come in?
No, they're beneath the pedophiles.
They're beneath, okay. Right. They're beneath serial killers though, right?
Yeah, well, I think it would be, what would it be? It would be the pedophiles, and then under them, the attorneys, and then under them, the senators. I have very little respect for that entire class of the human race.
Nice.
Now that we've offended everybody. So what we want to do is we want to tie authority to a person, not to a brand. Right. SEO is brand-based, AEO is authority-based. And that also means my data is flawed. Because if you look at the way that we studied our data, the only way to study this is via, because the citation is a URL. I'm studying citations. So what we really have to do, if we wanted to do the deepest dive on this in the world, is every single individual citation, we'd crawl and cache the entire page, and then we'd study what was on that page.
To see what the LLM's grabbing.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so I'll give you an example there. My ex-business partner, still one of my best friends, John Moran, the greatest Google Ads mind on the planet, by far. The only people that know that, though, going back to my Einstein example, are other Google Ads managers. He's not famous in the broader world, but within the top of the dominance hierarchy, everybody knows John is the best of the best of the best of the best. I asked ChatGPT a question about Google Ads. I forget what the question was, but I got a citation, say that I got like hrefs.com. Okay. And I'm like, oh, Ahrefs ranks, quote unquote, or is the authority for this query. And just out of curiosity, I go to the hrefs.com site and I read through the article, and then all of a sudden I realize, oh, they quoted John Moran. It wasn't Ahrefs that got the citation.
It was John Moran.
It was John Moran. The AI engine knew John's the authority, and Ahrefs just happens to be the site that quoted John Moran along that context. So John got the citation, but interestingly, wasn't mentioned in the answer. Mm-hmm. So this is the dance that we're all going to play.
Ahrefs picks up on that value.
That's right. Ahrefs picks up on that value, but John owns the value long term. So Ahrefs benefited in that moment, but John is the transient entity that can go anywhere. If you ask questions about Google Ads, you'll get some of John's Reddit comments. Like the AI engine knows John Moran. That's the other thing that's really interesting is it establishes hierarchy through something like peer review. You're a marketing expert. So if you say, hey, Kasim's pretty good at marketing, then the AI engine goes, oh, that means a lot more than my client saying Kasim's pretty good at marketing, which actually still means more than just some random bozo saying Kasim's good at marketing.
Or even me saying about myself, I'm awesome at marketing.
Exactly right. If a PhD says a PhD is good at PhD stuff, the AI engine judges that more strongly. That's why it likes Reddit so much. Reddit at one point accounted for 20% of all AI and AI citations.
Which
Google took it out.
Blows dentists' minds when you tell them that they are showing up, or their recommendations or citations are based upon Reddit comments.
Yep.
I brought this up to a doctor. She lost her mind. She literally lost her mind. Are you telling me that the success of my business is somehow based on the value of Reddit comments? I'm like, yeah. She's flipped out.
Yeah.
Flipped out.
It's not as true anymore. Google made an algorithm. Speaking of Google, dude.
I have seen that come down. Reddit's come down. And
Google in December made one algorithm change. Their API search query went from 100 results to 10. The reason that's relevant is because almost all Reddit results are on page 2 or under. Because Reddit is about deep, depth answers. And people think page 2 is less relevant. It's not. It's just on the periphery of the bell curve, which means it's more relevant to more specific queries.
Right.
So Google changing what these AI engines could access from 100 to 10 basically wiped Reddit off the map. Their stock dropped. They were like 250 a share. I think they're at $140 right now. I don't know. I went and bought because I'm still very long on Reddit. If you want to lose money, follow me into the stock market. But nice. it actually, it's the point isn't about Reddit. The point is about hierarchically structured, peer-reviewed content. That's what the AI engine wants. Why? Because that's what humans want. Look at medicine. That's how medical journals function. You go into a journal that's established, that people respect. That's the hierarchy. And then you publish under peer review. And then everybody looks at it and says, okay, you're not full of it. This isn't going to kill people. Let's actually act on this information. AI engines want to function exactly like humans function.
So what did you actually find, though?
Schema markup, which I didn't know what schema meant.
What is schema markup for our audience?
Yeah. So when we were analyzing all of the rankings, which I don't even like that word.
What do you call it other than rankings? Because it's not
I'm trying to
rankings
figure it
anymore.
out,
It's
dude.
like
It's like propensity for
recommendations,
citation. I don't know, like
weight,
like
trustworthiness,
yeah.
authority.
But you are showing up, so maybe it's just the citations. We were measuring all the citations, and for the audience, if they don't know, the number one key performance indicator for ranking inside of search engine optimization is links, link building.
It's like getting a link. It's like what you were talking about before. Like, I'm going to write a blog article about this post,
Right.
and I'm going to link to you. And
Yep.
now I'm going to write a blog article for you to link back to me, but you don't have a blog.
Yeah. Not yet, but I will now that I've been shamed. Shame is the motivator, Adrian, that I think we underutilize.
Anyway,
That's exactly
but
right.
that's a
So those,
link. A link from me to you is an inbound link to you.
and
That's like
those
a
links
dentist
are
getting
extraordinarily valuable in the world of SEO. It's
in
why
traditional SEO.
in traditional
Traditional
SEO.
SEO. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I contend that, we like to give lip service to quality content. I know that it's necessary, but it's almost the baseline. The real ranking is in the link building. It's why Hoth and SEO.co and Posi Rank exist. You can just go buy valuable links.
Links. Yeah.
So link building to SEO is schema markup to AEO. I'll explain. We started analyzing all of these websites, and it was my data team that identified, they're like, dude, every website that is being shown has schema validated schema. And I'm like, well, dude, I sold websites 20 years ago. So I've heard the word schema before, but I didn't know what it was. And it's like the table of contents for your website.
Right.
It's like the instruction manual for your content. It labels content. And you can go to schema.org and you can put your website through the schema.org schema validator, and it will tell you if it's schema validated. Chances are, by the way, it's not. I know that because only 12.4% of all websites on the internet are schema validated. Here's what's interesting. Over 90% of all AI-driven citations come from schema validated websites. So
Okay.
90% of all the citations are coming from 12% of the websites on the internet. Why? Because AI engines are compute and power starved. As a matter of fact, that's the only thing you hear about in the news now. Elon wants to put a nuclear reactor on the moon. People are building all of these, the massive infrastructure, as much of it as they can get, everywhere they can get. Sam Altman asked Congress for $12 trillion because he's like, we need computing power to beat the Chinese.
Yeah, we need, exactly.
So they're massively compute starved. There's not enough compute to power everything that we need from an AI perspective. So they're doing something that I call economy crawl. When you ask an AI engine about, who's the best dentist, what's the best cowboy boot for line dancing, it doesn't have the computing power to truly go out there and crawl every single website. It's capable of that. It's actually far more capable of that than any other entity on the planet.
And you're saying, read all the content, read everything and derive.
Read everything.
It doesn't have that computing power.
Well, they don't want to give it to us, not for $200 a month, which is the most you can pay an AI engine. So what these AI engines are doing is they're using schema to kind of as the cliff notes to a website. And they will pursue schema. They will pursue websites that don't have schema validation. So I mentioned 90% of all citations come from websites that are schema validated.
Right.
10% don't. So then I looked at the 10% that don't. I'm like, why did you get the pass?
How'd you sneak in here?
Yeah. You want to know what I found? It's really sad. One of the websites I found in a query that wasn't schema validated, but was still ranking, being cited, it was a couple days after Charlie Kirk was shot or murdered or blown up or whatever happened to him. And it's because the website had information about Charlie Kirk, and that information didn't exist anywhere else.
Okay. And so it was just super valuable content.
That's if the content is extraordinarily valuable and can't be found elsewhere, the AI engine will determine it based. Yeah, it's like, all right, you know what? We're going to spend the compute to go get this because nobody else has got it.
That's
Most
so
of us
hard
don't have
to
that
do,
content.
though.
Dude, it's near impossible. I mean, it's basically all either like breaking news or ultra proprietary information, right? Like those are the only two categories I can really think of. So most of us don't have that. So if you're a dentist listening to this now, go to your webmaster, web designer, web whoever, and say, I need a schema validated site. Now, there should be some strategy to your schema. And that's where we get into a conversation that I'm probably not equipped to have, dude. Julian, who runs my team, he's figured out schema strategy.
How to set up the schema correctly.
Yeah. And the schema strategy is based off of, again, going back to hierarchies, how you want to structure the hierarchy of your content. What's the most important? If you're an e-commerce website, products are more important than features, right?
Right. Yeah.
So structure your scheme in a way that articulates that. If you're a dentistry site, are the dentists, if you're like, one of my clients was APDO, Arizona Pediatric Dentistry organization or something. I think they had 15 dentists that worked for them. And each dentist had a different specialty. That's a very different schema strategy
Structure. Yeah.
than one dentist who has, 3 lines of service. In the case of APDO, I bet you my schema structure would probably be focused on the dentists first in terms of organization,
rather than
where for
the
the single
organization.
dentist, it's going to be focused on the service. All that to say, I don't know, dude. Talk to ChatGPT about the schema strategy. It'll probably come up with something good enough. But if you have schema on your site, it's like turning the lights on. Only 12.4% of the websites on the internet have the freaking lights on. With local, you get a little bit of a pass because especially with Gemini, but some of the other AI tools too, I've noticed that they're not even using their website. They're using local directories. So if you have a local directory that's well optimized and
they're
schema,
huge.
they're huge. Google My Business is huge. Believe it or not, dude, MapQuest, I'm seeing a bunch. Yellow Pages, like all these, it's AI searches like a 60.
The Better Business Bureau comes up quite often.
BBB comes up a lot.
As well.
A lot. Yeah.
It's crazy. I didn't even know that place was still in existence.
I know. I still get calls from them every now and again offering to take my money.
Where do you see this go? So basically, you went into this, just to kind of wrap up on this, you went into this going, I think I'm going to probably find that AI SEO or AEO is basically just a supercharged SEO engine.
What I really
I'm going to get the same information, but you didn't.
I wanted to build a SaaS product. I wanted to build I wanted to be the SEMrush of the AEO world and just show people how AEO and SEO map. And I thought that would be extraordinarily valuable and I could build it and make millions and breeze off in the sunset and not have to do professional services again. Because they don't map, I still think I can do that. I still think I can build that product. Other people have built better products than I have. Monique Bond built Search Atlas. I like that a lot. I'm an affiliate. There's a bunch of them spinning up. I'm just going to go the professional services route. And then someday, based off of what I've learned, I might build deeper infrastructure.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you see this going in the next 12, 24 months in terms of like the whole AI search landscape? I mean, right now, and maybe comment on this. You go to Google. Google controls what, 85, 90% of all search traffic still, I would say.
It's changing.
It's lower now because of ChatGPT.
The data is underreported. And we don't have to get into it unless you want me to, because I've studied this at a very deep level, but it has to do with the point of origination. So the most valuable prospect in the Western world is the iPhone user. By far. Right. They spend more money, they're more affluent, they're more educated. Call me racist against Android people. I've used an Android before. It is true. Yeah. And what's interesting is the most downloaded app to iPhone for a long time was ChatGPT. Right. And so, Google is massively, because
but aren't they moving to, didn't they just sign a deal with Gemini that we're going to start using Gemini as their AI agent?
Yeah, that'll get
Siri's going to be backed by Gemini.
Yeah, Siri's going to be backed by Gemini because because Apple screwed the pooch on that one. And the point of origination has changed. It used to be the browser used to be the point of the beginning point of a query, and all browsers were Google powered. I don't care what browser you had. Yeah. Now it's some collection of AI tools for a tax relevant sum of the human populace. Something like 20 to 30% are using insert tool here: ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Grok. And we know that because of app downloads and uses. Now, Google is not giving us the data that we would want because they don't want to create a
they don't want to
they don't want to show look, we're hemorrhaging search, but we know that search traffic is hemorrhaging because you can see it on client sites. Everybody's search traffic is dropping down because they're not going to the website to have the conversation. They're having the conversation inside of the AI.
And they're making a decision with the AI recommendation.
Which is why the AI traffic is so much more valuable. People come ready to buy. It's 13 times the likelihood of conversion if somebody's referred by ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity.
13 times? I've never heard that number. I've heard 4 to 8 times. But where are you getting that data from?
Well, Perry Belcher and I did a AEO training, and that was the number that we kept saying. Let me go validate this. I'll find the citation.
That's fine. We'll drop it in the notes. You can come back with it later.
13.
So you're just saying, okay, so we got off on that riff because I asked a question of like, where are things going? So obviously we know that on desktop, Google's going to be shifting to full AI mode with this year sometime, we were assuming. When that happens,
Well, it's
are
dangerous
you in
for
agreement?
Google's primary monetization model is Google Ads. I think it still accounts for something like 75% of their revenue.
But no, you're right. You're right. But I have seen the ad platform in some early screenshots of them running ads inside of the AI recommendations
Google's
or
going to
the
run
AI
ads inside of
results.
AI.
Yeah,
ChatGPT is already running ads inside of it. But
already doing it.
the reason I bring it up is because if you look at the difference, Google's ad platform in Google search has effectively, first of all, it's 100% of the real estate on mobile is ads first. You see
Yep.
ad, and then you have to scroll to see an organic result. Google's ad platform inside of AI is an
It's down.
asterisk. It's a
It's down
footnote.
below, or yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be
So,
questionable whether they retain their ad revenue
dude, the
when
amount
moving
of
to that
the amount of
platform.
ad real estate just dropped. Now, supply and demand and all that stuff, I think what they're banking on is people just end up paying more. But a lot of businesses, I already think we're already in a traffic bubble. A lot of businesses can't afford to pay for the traffic costs now. What happens
They're
when they
so high.
4x? So, I think that a couple of things. You asked what happens in the next 12 to 24 months. We are in a uh, there's this. I'm drawing from. I hope this isn't obnoxious, dude. Just stop me or feel free to edit this out if this gets
You're good.
bad. But there's two different types of environments from an evolutionary perspective. If you draw on an anthropological analogy, which is case selected and R selected. Case selected species are species that grow that thrive in stable environments. So humans, you and I, elephants, chimpanzees are case-selected species. Our selected species are species that thrive in unstable environments, so like mice, roaches, etc. And R selected, R is for reproduction. They basically they have a lot of babies that don't take a long time, don't gestate a lot, don't take a lot to survive, and they do much better. We are in an R selected economy right now, from a technological perspective. Here's why I bring this up. Because everybody's inclination is to play a case-selected game, which is which one of these do I optimize for and how do I optimize for it? Well, you can do that when environments are stable. As they have been previously, you could optimize for Google because Google owned 98% of the market share. People used to say Google owns 66% market share. That was per capita. Per search, Google owned 98% of the market share. So you could optimize for Google. That's case-selected thinking. Our selected thinking is all of it. You need to put
It's everything.
a little juice behind a little bit of everything, and then wait to see where things manifest because they're all playing leapfrog. Dude, OpenAI had fallen behind. In terms of compute and output, they actually sucked. Grok was better, Claude was better, Gemini was better, and then they just paid $2 billion for the guy that built Moltbot, or what are they calling it now? OpenClaw.
Yeah.
And they're about to
OpenClaw.
OpenClaw. Yeah, they're about
They
to
bought it? They bought
Yeah, they bought it. $2 billion.
Oh, jeez.
Dude, but that's the thing. It was the most important agentic tool in the AI world. And now who's the front runner again? And they're all optimizing differently. They're all looking at very, very, very different things. And there's a lot of statecraft involved. OpenAI uses a lot of Bing search graph. Why? Because Microsoft is a massive investor inside of OpenAI.
Exactly.
Amazon and OpenAI were having really strong conversations. That broke off, and then Amazon papered up with Anthropic. And so Amazon has what? Amazon Web Services. So what does Anthropic have access to now? AWS, which hosts 70% of the front-facing world. So at the moment, I strongly caution anyone against choosing a victor. Instead, I think everybody needs to go towards first principles. Do not say, I'm going to optimize for ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Claude, or Grok, or Gemini. Instead, what is the one thing that's common to all of them? And the answer is authority. They want authoritative content from individuals that dives deep. None of this surface level bullshit that we used to, 900 word blog just to get ranked. You want to go, I want to know deep. Why you have,
should be the authority.
Why you should be an authority? You use the periodontal chart in this way. Tell me why. Tell me what 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 mean, and how to remediate and how to address it and what to do and how often. I have a dentist that says you should be in every 3 months. Great. Tell me why. And dive deep and draw on citations and cite other sources. And then once you've created that content, make it multimodal, shoot a video about it, create a podcast, do threads, link out.
So this is really kind of coming back to kind of what SEO, without gaming the SEO system, the traditional SEO should
Yeah.
be, which is create bitchin' content,
Dude,
period. And it
AEO is
should
what
be
SEO
video.
should have been. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
beautifully stated. It pisses me off that you got the soundbite. You're the host. I'm the guest. I should have the soundbite. But you nailed it. AEO is what SEO should have been. Like it's if you create extraordinary content, and you know what's funny is we treat content, we're very dismissive. If somebody were to obsess over one piece of cornerstone content, really obsess over it, like this, the way that, you know, authors used to write books, and then diversify that content in different ways. It could take you a month to do that, but that one piece of content will do so much more for you than the person who's writing a blog every day.
It's true. And there is a hierarchy and a value to video over just words.
Yeah,
But the thing
seems
is,
to
if you
prefer
shoot video, this podcast, like you mentioned earlier, I'm going to get a full video. I'm going to get a whole host of social media pieces. I get a transcript. I get all of the, ingestible types of content that
Right.
you can produce online. But I would say that video seems to be kind of like paramount in terms of, definitely in terms of like getting the attention, like just getting attention and scrolling and whatever it might
It
be.
has been. It was the hardest to fake. So if you saw a video, you knew it wasn't AI.
Right.
But that's not been true for the last 72 hours. You know, like
Yeah.
we're now in a position where AI.
Are you talking about that bite dance video with Brad
Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise beat each other up?
Tom Cruise fighting? Oh my
Dude, it's
gosh,
just
I
like
saw
them.
that yesterday.
Yeah, and go
Can't
look
even
at
tell.
the Door brothers. Like they're producing things that are they just blow my mind.
Who's this?
The Door brothers. I'm making sure I'm saying, yeah, DOR. The Door brothers, pioneers in AI video production. They create stuff like they have these. There's a music. I'm looking at a rap video right now that has Donald Trump with a joint smoking, surrounded by girls, dude. And you can't tell it's not real. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. It's
they have another one with Putin behind a burning building, slamming a bottle of vodka. You can't tell this stuff isn't real.
Yeah.
And what's really scary is AI engines are, they're failing the Turing test. So if you put AI generated content in front of other AI tools, they can't tell.
They can't tell.
AI can't sniff out AI, which
And video
what else were
content?
we going to use to do that? You know, that's again, it goes back to why I think extraordinarily quality content, especially in areas where deep specialized knowledge is very, very important, very specific. To give an example, Phoenix, Arizona has really hard water. Our water is horrible. We have hard water, and apparently the uranium count in our water is a lot higher. 2/3 of the water in the United States is uranium, but in Phoenix, the uranium is much, much higher. If you're a dentist in Phoenix, talk about that. You know what I mean? Like, what's the impact of hard water? What's the impact of because the AI engine's going to be like, oh, that dude, like, or dude
knows something
really
that no one else is talking about.
That type of niche specific, industry specific, geo specific, culture specific. Like, let's say you're a Mormon dentist. Mormons don't drink alcohol. I don't think they're supposed to. I'm not Mormon.
At least the good ones don't.
At least the good one, right?
All the time.
They supposedly don't drink alcohol, don't consume sugar. They're very veered in direction.
That's not true. That's not true. I live in Utah. They drink more sugar as the substitute for all the other drugs on the planet.
Is that what it is? Whatever it is. If you're a Mormon dentist,
no coffee. No coffee.
That's even better. Adrian, think about this. If you're a Mormon dentist, you can talk about how, hey, Mormons actually consume more sugar than the average person because...
there you go.
You know what I mean? So, or if, I don't know, like insert your specific
whatever it might be.
Geo-specific profiles, like figure out what your deep realm of knowledge is. Here's the scary part, and I'm going to say something super petulant. Because I have clients like this, or I did when I still had an agency. They would say like, well, I don't really have anything to talk about. It's like, well, great. You don't deserve to exist. You know what I mean? Welcome to the new economy. If you're not an authority,
welcome to the reality of online.
If you're counter to
awareness,
well, I'm not really an authority. Great, go home and collect universal basic income. I promise it's coming. 24 months from now, you will be paid to stay home and watch Netflix. If you want to be relevant to the economic endeavor, you better be good at something, and you better be willing to tell the AI what it is. Because if you're like, I'm just sort of,
You got to
I'm
play
like
the
all the
game.
other ones. Well, they're going to get wiped out. It's called the K-shaped economy. The K-shaped economy says that think of the letter K.
Yeah.
The base of the K is the line in the sand. It's now. The downward trending leg of the K is 80% of the human economic participants fall to absolute zero. They no longer play the game. 20% spike to a degree of output that exceeds all demand because AI scales everything. So
Yep.
dude, who would want to go to the second best heart surgeon if the best heart surgeon can work on everyone? Who wants to go to the second best dentist if the best dentist can work on everyone? And that's what AI allows for. It allows for the amalgamation and
Scalability.
distillation of true hierarchically structured wisdom and knowledge. And that's where we head. So if you want to survive this, go be good at something and then tell people why you're good at it.
I love it, Kasim. Freaking awesome. We'll definitely have you on again. Okay. I'm going to put all your stuff, links and everything to your new agency and whatever contact information you'd like to give me in the show notes. Thank you for coming on. You're amazing. And I really appreciate your wealth of knowledge. And awesome.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you, brother.
Cool, brother.
Thanks for listening to Bite Size Podcast. Tune in to stay up to date with everything dental AI and tech